This is fine. 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 This is a poor substitute for therapy, but an excellent substitute for other podcasts.
We're not like other podcasts.
Join us as we find the answers to the universe's biggest questions like, is butter a carb? Does crying burn calories? And what the fuck am I doing with my life? We're here to be your part-time therapist, astrologer, concierge doctor, and fairy godmother. Do you need someone to validate you today? Cool. Come on in. We're fine. This is fine. My queens, kings, and royalty, this is fine community, listeners new and old. Actually, I don't like that word old. Listeners new and veteran, experienced, advanced, I don't know. Anyway, welcome home. It's time for another Astro 101 astrology lesson with Shannon. If you've been following along since the beginning, you've learned about the moon through the signs and your own moon sign in episode 6, the moon in different phases as it rules over different parts of the body in episode 34, and all about your rising sign or your ascendant and reading horoscopes in episode 15. If you haven't heard those, this is your cue to go back and listen to episodes 6, 15, and 34, especially if you're still learning about the fundamentals of astrology. Today, we're diving in to how you can read and understand your horoscope through understanding the houses. Drum roll. What are the houses in astrology? There are 12 of them, and your houses are determined by your rising sign. So if you don't know that right now, stop, go get your birth certificate, text your mom, contact the county office where you were born, do what you gotta do, and enter your exact birth time in to calculate your chart. Astro-charts.com is a great free website for this, so is cafeastrology.com. Enter your info and find your rising sign. It's sometimes marked as ASC, and it's gonna be on the left side of the wheel. Once you've done that, you're ready to proceed. Let's learn about those houses. Shannon, is everything fine for you today?
Everything is wonderful. More than fine. Fine plus.
Fine plus is a great place to be.
Yeah, feeling good.
We love to see it. We love to hear it. So let's get right into it and give our listeners a brief explainer of what the houses are in astrology before we get into what each house means, represents, signifies.
Perfect. So this is a good time to further delineate what all the energies are. So when you're first coming into the world of astrology and trying to figure out, what does it all mean? I go back to the beginning, which I've said before, and I'll say it again, that our planets are like the actors, the ones doing the action. They're the beings. The signs are the costuming or the cloak, the energy that they are having to express themselves through. So some feel good, some are comfortable, some are not, but that's what they're wearing. It's the lens that they work through. The houses where we are settling our contemplation today, it's the backdrop. So it's the stage, it's the scenery, it's the area of life.
Right.
So it helps parse out when people are trying to combine, zodiac signs with houses. We're gonna work on that today. And that's a thing with modern astrology that you will see. I implore you to consider
just a brief little begging of you to consider.
Just consider not looking at house equals sign equals planet.
Right.
It's like the ABCs.
Like first house is Aries, second house is Taurus.
Yep.
Unless you're an Aries ascendant.
Exactly. That's where it's at. But it still doesn't mean the zodiac energy is the same as the house.
Right.
And that's where in ancient astrology, and we of course know much more now, that that whole alphabet version. Believe me, I used to be an offender of teaching this way. It is so easy to teach and yes, we just get to get it all. But then you have to undo There's a lot to undo.
Is it because there are similar themes with the houses and the zodiac signs? Like, where did that come from?
In some of them.
Okay.
Convenience.
Easier to teach, like you were saying.
Easier to teach.
Okay.
And it's of like less than 100 years old for a science that is thousands of years old.
Right.
So just for context, it is just easy. It's a lot easier. And just I'll say this too without getting too complicated, but we're going to make it easy and just speak house topics.
Yep.
When we get farther in, we know there are different ways of dividing the sky. So this is what we're doing. We're taking that celestial band of energy, so those constellations, so we know where the sun is. The sun has like a path that it follows, the celestial equator. And within that, this is the same track, even we could think of, that the planets follow as well. And we take that circle that surrounds the Earth. So we're looking at this from a geocentric perspective, meaning we're standing here on Earth, and from our perspective, the sun and all the planets, the moon, are all looping around us.
Right.
Or we're spinning around and observing them. And so that we've taken that part and divided it into 12 30-degree parts of the sky is if we're using whole sign, but for simplicity's sake, today we're going to speak in terms of whole sign.
Whole sign houses.
I use whole sign. I also use quadrant house, which is a whole other division, but it is like my Coke house cusps are my cusps.
Yes.
I think I've said that. I've come out of the closet and said that too. Because it is it's a topic right now.
Yes. Within the astrology world.
Within the astrology world.
Big topic.
But they're both in my use, they're both valid. But
yes,
for simplicity's sake today.
Yeah, if that went over your head, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Might be edited out anyways.
Nah. So. Roll the clip.
So what the ancients found were certain areas of life within these. So we have, that's the other thing, we have constellations, but when we look at the constellations, some are very big, some are very small as far as taking up space in the sky. So that's another reason why it's an argument for not using first house equals Aries, second house equals Taurus.
Okay.
You know,
because they take up different amounts of space.
Yeah, like when we're speaking from an astronomical level. So the way that it's so brilliant, really. These 12 houses, like when we're trying to find, like I said, the where, like how, like there's an energy coming in. There's a planet. There's a being. It's coming into some area of life with a particular cloak it's wearing, energy. The houses show us where that is. Where is this energy showing up in your life?
Right.
So like if from transit to like
like
your
if you hear a horoscope,
chart.
right? Like so let's say I heard a horoscope this morning and it's saying that the moon is traversing my second house, which is true. You don't know what that is unless you understand the houses. And you might know that the moon is in Libra, but why does that mean my second house?
So that's if you have a personalized horoscope.
So if
you're listening to like an astro forecast.
Right.
Saturn is moving into Pisces. Saturn has now moved into Pisces. And this is what Saturn's going to do in Pisces.
Yes.
Well, where is that going to affect me?
Yes, you need to know your house.
Where you look at where Pisces is occupying your chart.
So these are two areas in which you would need to know the houses and what they mean.
Exactly.
So whether it's a general transit or something that's based on your rising sign, houses are very, very, very relevant.
Very, very relevant. I mean, and here's the other thing that might be controversial for some people. In astrology, planets are not good or bad. Signs are not good or bad. Houses are good or bad.
Yeah.
Challenging or hard. But it's, I don't think it's good to glaze over that. You know what I mean? As far as like, oh no, there's no, like, because it means when we have challenges, it's like, is there something wrong with me?
Yeah. Am I the problem?
Am I the problem? And it just helps you deal with it. It's like, this is, and then we can reframe how we're looking at the challenge of like, this is this area of life where I'm supposed to be working on,
right?
This part. Yay, I have an opportunity to refine it. We're here on this planet to, I don't know other people's beliefs, but my belief is we're refining and we're growing and we're trying to expand ourselves and learn more and become, better at whatever that is, more embodied, enlightened. It's the challenges are the things that help us have comparison even to like what you do like and what you don't like. So, there's in that context, there is no good or bad. But so.
Good primer.
So, as, and another way to say good or bad, houses, another way would be to say, there are weak houses and there are strong houses. So when a planet is in a particular place in your chart, they can affect what they are trying to do for you. It's either harder for them to do it or it's easier for them to do it.
Okay.
So I didn't expect to get so technical, but I am doing it. We're
already there.
We're already there. So I am just going to, we're just skimming over it. There are places. So this I actually like this. When I read a person's chart, sometimes I give them a little mini astro lesson to orient themselves by, if we're on Zoom, I'm showing them their chart and we have the four corners, where the most east, the most west, so the horizontal line.
The cross.
The cross. So those 2 points are initiators of the first house, the seventh house, and then the straight up and down. So the 10th house is at the top, the 4th house is at the base underneath us. So those four corners are like our skeletal structure of our whole chart. And so what's happening in those houses is they're what are called angular houses. So that's the only thing I'll do with as far as angular, succedent, and cadent. That we'll just say the angular houses, it's a good place to start. That when planets are there, they're strong. They can do more for us. And so and it kind of, again, like Earth is in the center and it just gives us like, an orientation. And one it's really easy to see. And, this is what I like for people to do is move out of the intellectual processing and more into a feeling place with astrology.
Love it.
And so, when the sun rises, I probably said this on this podcast before, but again, repetition gets in there easier. So when the sun is rising or the moon is rising, it's huge. They're huge. It's an optical illusion, but they have more energy. They have more strength at that moment, and just like when the sun is overhead at basically 12 noon, that's our midheaven, so that's like we feel how strong that energy is. And it's like we're up and we're out in the world. Like that's our career house.
Yep.
So the one is our, first house is self, our career up at the top, and then the sun setting. Like it is a moment of, like living coastal, like you probably do this too, guaranteed you walk during sunset.
Yeah, everyone
it's
does.
like a religious moment. It doesn't matter what your life path is. People commune.
At sunset.
And go, there's this moment of where you connect, right?
Yep.
It's a connection house.
So funny. I didn't even think about that. But
it's like a holy moment.
Yeah.
The street is packed.
Yeah.
So it's an important moment, right? And then midnight, hopefully we're deep in our sleep doing our, nighttime sojourns, doing our dreaming and our undoing. So I just wanted to bring that in as far as houses, like how strong they are, those areas of life.
So if you're looking at the circle that is your natal chart, those points on the XY axis, so to speak, on the left side where your ascendant is, the right side where your descendant is, the top where your MC and the bottom where your IC are, those are really strong areas of your chart. And you might notice that there are planets near there. Maybe there are not, but those are some strong areas of the chart. And they are houses 1, 7, 10, and 4. I did that out of order based on how my brain is mapping it.
Yeah, that's great.
But you get it.
Well, I like it because it is 1, 7 is the horizon,
Yep.
10, 4 is the
Like
up, down,
top to
the
bottom. Yeah,
zenith
you got
and
it. You
the
knew
base.
exactly where I was going. Thank you.
No, that works. That actually, to me, is more, it helps the mind. It's
Thank
more
you.
logical.
That was really validating.
And it kind of, like, we can do this too, if you like, for house topics, how houses in opposition
Yes.
connect with each
So
other.
let's go through 1 through 12, and then let's look at those like axes as well. Does that work?
Yeah. Or, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go through
We'll
just
cut
for the sake of
through.
like, 1 through 12 so people understand what the topics are. And then we can kind of look at the axis like 1, 7.
So what
2,
I'll
8.
do, instead of having to go backwards, when we hit 7, we're working in polarities.
Beautiful.
And I will loop in the opposite house.
Love it.
So we'll do it that way. Okay, cool. Look at me. Leo rising. You're not controlling me. No.
It's your show now.
No, just kidding. That is funny. So speaking of first house. So the first house, the most important thing to remember, and this is the marker of the ascendant. So your rising sign, it is that moment, depending on where you were born, this is where, to actually, the house conversation in general, we need an accurate time of birth.
Mm-hmm.
So just
Very important.
get that.
Yeah.
In your houses don't mean anything if you don't have an accurate time of birth. So it sets the map. That moment you took your breath, you took life, you are now a part of this human experience, this worldly earth experience. And so it literally informs how your body is shaped, energetically infused with the energy of that sign that was rising the moment you were born. So it, again, informs so much. And I know we've talked about this before, but, in ancient times, and Indian astrology is like this now. When you say, what's your sign? They say they're ascendant because it's the most you. It's because it's literally, like your body. And so first house is self. It's you. It's the most, like, where to nestle up into your own energy. And when things happen in the first, like we were just setting up, the first might be the most. Some people think the 10th or the first, but the first, like, that is when you, like, you feel it. Like, you feel it in your body because it's now hit you on a bodily level.
Right.
So first house, very important. And we should do an episode of the different signs of all the different ascendants. But at least this is a good way to get you set up. So
we actually did. We did a rising sign episode.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, episode 15. Go listen.
Amnesia. Sorry.
No, we've covered a lot of topics.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't keep track, like who, where, when, what.
I know.
How.
I forgot to.
So, this gives us our, what kind of vitality we have. For medical astrology, we're going to really look at that first house because we look at also this, is probably too advanced, but I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, drop it in.
And another thing of whatever sign is on that first house cusp, the planet that rules that sign, we look at that. It could be anywhere in the chart.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like the ruling planet of
your whole
chart.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at wherever that planet falls, as you're looking at the houses, you know that that's an important area of life for you because the planet that's in charge of you, your body, yourself, whatever house it's in is telling you an area of life that you are most working in, that you kind of have to get down, you have to refine. And so maybe what you can do is go through, like, in show notes, add the, the
ascendant
sign
with the corresponding
with the planet.
Beautiful. I will do that. So look to the show notes for your little cheat sheet.
Perfect. And so, yes, this is the most you. Planets in the first house color the person. You feel it. People with strong first house planets, like, you can tell they're very there's a loudness about that, whatever those planets are.
Oh, I'm like, is it my packed first house? Like,
yeah, it's very strong.
Actually.
And like your Mercury.
Yeah.
So you see you're a good example
Mercury,
of this.
Venus, and Sun.
Yeah.
And almost moon.
And almost moon. But that's a lot.
There's a lot going on.
With what you do.
Is it me?
But you are living the ideal Virgo life. Because it's this it's not only, your Mercury's not only strong by sign, but it's strong by placement.
Yeah.
So it can transmit.
It's doing a lot of talking.
It's amazing. And then the moon in Libra says you're talking to other people, or you're transmitting information from yourself. You take it through your refinement. It's like, look, I'm going to go investigate this, guys, so that I can bring it to you in a more refined, understandable context. Like what you do with me.
Astrology is real, you guys. Listen to her. Like, what? That's literally me.
It is. And just like how you're taking astrology too and helping, because I don't have Mercury in my first house.
Oh my God.
Oh, my first house. Oh my God.
Your first house? Do you want to talk about your first house?
Oh, I don't know. Like if people don't like me, they could cast spells on me based on my first house.
Okay, yeah, we're keeping it private.
No, I do. No, I will say it has been an area of life of rapid growth, physical. So, okay. First house.
Yep.
All right. I'll reveal myself. So
Exposed.
I have a debilitated Venus. I was born when Pluto and Uranus were joined, and Saturn was opposite. Lions, tigers, bears.
Oh my God.
And then poor little Venus just wandering through, la, la, la.
Help me.
Ended up in the Virgo room.
Yeah.
So she is sitting there with Pluto and Uranus with Saturn opposite in the first house. So one of the things that I have dealt with is very unusual, rare sicknesses, illnesses. You know, Virgo is the body, the bodily processes, near death, been given death sentences.
More
Pluto,
than once.
More than once. And then, and Saturn opposite, which's nice. And Pisces, it does help me work through it. Like there's malleability. But then the big thing is that the sun, I'm Leo rising. So it's all in Virgo. So again, I'm using quadrant house system
instead
here.
of whole sign, yeah.
But the Leo rising gives me tremendous vitality to deal with whatever. To overcome.
Yep.
And will through it.
Yep.
And it's real.
Yeah.
But I get the weird, it's that Uranus stuff that I get and even my doctor will go, oh, okay,
That
you're the
makes
1%.
Yeah.
You're the one who's going to not be able to work with this or I'm miraculously healed. So anyways, that's...
So is that like a Uranus first house theme in general? Okay, so if anyone has Uranus in their first house, that might be something to think about.
Yeah, the body.
Yeah.
And I've had violent accidents, I have scars on my face. I've had things whacking me out of the blue.
The disruptor planet.
But I've worked, instead of feeling we just
mentality.
We just did that episode, and I did. It's like, oh, poor me and all this. And then finally I'm like, oh, okay, let me go into this energy. Why am I having this energy? It's a really incredible tool for self-reflection, self-awareness, moving through, undoing.
Yep.
And then I just don't have those things happen to me anymore.
It's amazing.
It's not the same. I don't know. Something else could come in, but it shows up at the level that I'm at. So it doesn't come in so extreme anymore.
Yeah. What a great example of how a planet really is manifesting in a first house.
Right. And that stellium. And legit, Venus, Pluto, opposite Saturn is quite the victim setup, you know? And I have Mars in my 12th, which is hidden enemies and all that. So if I can overcome victim mentality, anybody can.
Yeah.
But I just found that's the only place to heal.
Yep.
You know?
It's very logical of you.
While healing the wounds that happened, you know, I'm not victim shaming at all.
Your trauma is real. Your experience is real. It's all valid. It, if you're ready to release that part of your story and not let it define you, not let it be the lens. We did talk about this a lot in episode, I want to say 37. I'll put it in the show notes. Don't worry, y'all.
So that's the other thing with that first house. It's where we can take the wheel the most easily.
Okay.
So even though it's
Fantastic.
extreme, shows up in my life a lot, it's also where I can grab it and redirect it.
Yep. You're in the driver's
That's what
seat.
Yeah. That's
We love the
a
first
lot.
house. I'm
First
saying
house.
this from a lot of personal experience. All right. House 2, the second house.
The house of money.
Your stuff.
Livelihood, your stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. Things, stuff. This is one of the houses, I'll just say, it can be looked at as either kind of there's positive or negative. And part of that has to do with if we orient ourselves, again, this is kind of advanced, but I'm doing it. First house is us.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at our world around us.
Yep.
So all those 12 houses that are circling around us, those houses that flank us on either side, so that second house on one side, 12th house on the other, they are in what's called aversion. We can't see it. It's our blind spot.
Ah.
That's why 12th is straight up. By the time we get to 12, you think it gets easier as we go around. It's like, no, you're screwed. This is no. Well, it's we'll get to it, but it's not one of the easy houses. But the second house, we can also we're finding what resources we need in order to live. We become very
We're
aware.
gathering our things as we make this
gathering our
journey.
But isn't it fascinating how, like, the whole concept of money, like some people are totally, like, they're good with money, but more people are, it's a blind spot for them or it's a challenge for them. And so looking at your second house cusp, again, you look at it's actually the same formula all the way around. So there we go. We said it. Without trying to get too complicated. But we look at the sign that's on the second house cusp and the planet that rules that sign. And so we look at wherever that planet is in your chart, you can probably help correct your finances, your stuff, your resources. I love the word resources for a second house. It's also your self-worth. It's, because I always look at that. Our self-worth is that's one of the greatest resources of all.
I love that you brought up resources because it's not just money or material possessions. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and that's why talents, gifts, abilities.
Talent, yes.
That's a resource.
Mm-hmm.
And why you utilize that, it can get you out of trouble.
Yeah.
But if you look at where the planet is, it's ruling. So, let's say Capricorn, or I don't know why I went straight to that, but Capricorn's on your second house cusp. We look at Saturn. Where's Saturn? And that house is going to give us a little bit of intel on, I got to clean up here before it goes through there. And just a little side note, when the planet that rules that house has territory, is in it, that's good.
Oh, so like
focused.
Mercury in the first house, if you're a Mercury ruled chart, is
exactly.
Good. Okay.
So it just added even more strength to you.
Okay, so Moon in the second house ruled by Venus. Venus is on the ascendant.
Yeah.
Good vibes.
Good vibes.
Okay, cool.
Because Venus is in a good place to help you out.
All right.
Even though she's in Virgo, she's still placed well.
She's on a nice little throne.
She's on a throne.
Yeah.
She's good, and she's in good company.
Yeah, she's got a good squad.
And she's in a place where she can do her work.
Okay.
So
even though 2 might be a more struggle house,
it can go either way. It's kind of how I look at it. But it is that it really, here's the thing. We're born, we're spirit, and then we're born. And then the body's like, oh, wow, I need things to be here and live.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, too, we can think of like it's the food. Food is a resource.
Totally.
What are the things I need to live and take care of myself?
Yeah, the survival foundations.
And it's also, we'll get, when we start doing the polarity, it'll make more sense. But second house is like your money.
Yes.
It's money in your pockets.
And then we'll get to other people's money.
Yeah.
Okay, so house 3.
House 3. House 3 is, this is, well, I'm going to say in the ancient astrology, the Hellenistic model, this was one of my crying breakthrough moments, like being able to see it. It was, it's a house of divination, it's the house of the goddess.
Cool.
They had a goddess house.
I love that. Why don't we have goddess house anymore?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got to bring goddess back.
Bring goddess back, 2023.
That's right. And outside of that, I like the idea, like the ancients looking at it as a divination, and that it is a communication.
Yeah.
So in this world,
yes,
we're cruising in this world. It is communication. It's siblings. That's another key thing. Like if we're having big things with our siblings, it isn't always this perfect, but a lot of times people think I'm like, oh, you are a witch. When it's like there's 2 planets in their 3rd house, and it's like, do you have 2 siblings? Like, oh, how did you know that?
God, that's
it's
so
like,
funny.
And it's not always perfect.
Right.
But it's like we know there are 2 energies there that track sibling-like. And so, yeah. And a lot of times it works.
Yeah.
So this is where our siblings are, where we shared life. So this is another place that takes us into great 3rd house concept. Because this is a thing. I didn't say it at the beginning, but within the 12 houses, you have everything. Like there isn't anything in life that doesn't have a place. It's somewhere there.
Yeah.
And so
it's somewhere on this map.
it's somewhere on the map. And the 3rd house is also, so 3rd house has like a lot because
it's kind of like a mix.
It has all the things, but they somehow all do link together.
Yeah.
But it's like that, like your daily trekking through life.
Like a commute to work or...
Your commute to work, your neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's your neighborhood, it's your neighbors.
Okay.
Your shared experiences when you're just in your life. Do you know what I mean? You're just moving around. And that's why siblings, like tracks, they're there.
Yeah. So if you don't have siblings, would it be like someone who feels like a sibling?
Maybe.
Or like a next door neighbor, I don't know.
Yeah,
someone you grew up with.
Someone you grew up with.
Yeah.
Who would be your neighbor. So there we go. We're in the 3rd house.
Yeah.
It's cousins have another. I mean, cousins could kind of be there, but it's like your sibling you're usually next to. Like you're sharing, you're doing all the stuff together. So it's that, within your immediate environment. So that's why it's, also short distance travel.
Yep.
So it's the little journeys, it's the little things, and like your
trip.
little business trip too, of like, okay, just like getting from here to there. So it's also where, like what we're doing right now, 3rd house.
Communicating.
We're like having a podcast. Yeah. We're giving information.
Transmission of information, energy. Yeah. Okay, cool.
We have microphones in front of us. Microphone, like what house does microphone live in? 3rd.
Yeah.
We could pick any object on the planet, and it has a house where it would naturally live.
I love that.
Isn't that cool? Like, and that goes more advanced. That's like when you're learning horror.
We're not gonna,
you really get into that.
We're not going to overwhelm you. I'm going to ask her that off mic. I'm going to start pointing at things like an infant, being like, what's this?
But it's like that quick move around place. It's super hustle bustle.
Yeah.
So that's 3rd house.
Okay. So next up would be house 4.
House 4. So now we have another angular house. We're looking at something with strength. That's another thing. The 3rd house is weak. It's cadent on the other side because it goes strong, not as strong, but moderate to weak.
And then
1,
strong
2,
again.
3, and then strong again, all the way around. And like that's the 3rd house. Like you're getting stuff, you're just getting crap done, moving around. So 4th house, we're back in angular. So it's a strong house.
Right.
And just really like the things we take in first would be, home. This is our home. This is our initial upbringing. This was the condition of our childhood. That's another thing. People think you're performing astro gymnastics. Like if it really
like it's
is
a magic trick.
Standout, it's like if there's Scorpio on that IC is also like 4th house cusp in quadrant houses. And so it's like, ooh, yeah, hidden things
That's
are
you,
not
right?
easy.
Like with a Leo ascendant.
Hello,
Scorpio.
yes.
Yeah.
Got that right.
Yeah. I'm
Which
wondering, I'm thinking about mine as well, obviously, because I learned through myself, as we've learned through my first house, Mercury. The Sagittarius IC We moved like 20 times.
I was just going to say you must have moved all
so
the
many
time.
times. Yeah. So used to moving. And then
your dad was a fireman.
Yeah, literally. Like
Sag.
And I think he has a Sag moon.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so that even colors, that's where you start connecting. And he has Sag moon. So he's like even unconsciously Sag.
And is a Leo rising. And I think his midheaven is actually air. No. He somehow has an Aries midheaven.
Yeah, that can happen.
Okay.
It depends on where you were born.
That's wrong.
No, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
That's right. It isn't always perfect.
So it's like all fire.
Yeah.
The literal
and there was
fireman.
your home.
Yeah.
Literally. And that's what I say. Sag would be like the brush fire, the fast moving fire.
Yeah.
And so
a lot of moving, a lot of traveling.
A lot of moving, traveling, and sometimes it's literal.
Yeah.
That's the condition of your childhood.
Wow. We're learning
Isn't that
so
a trip?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like when we try to make it too complicated, sometimes you just can always go back to the most literal basic thing, and it probably tracks.
The ruler of that house is also in a fire sign.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. Okay. Sorry. Too much on my own chart, but I hope that was helpful for anyone listening.
Now, what I will say, because you also had a mother.
Yeah, I do have a mom.
Not
Hi, Mom.
fire.
Not at all.
But you can see how probably the energy of your father kind of eclipsed everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Like it was a lot.
Yeah.
So
wow.
that was a dominant theme that everybody lived by.
Yeah. I got to find Mom somewhere else in the chart.
She's there.
She's everywhere.
She's everywhere. She was right there. Your moon, your mom was literally peacemaking.
Oh my God,
it together.
Venus ruled. Yep.
Isn't that great?
Oh my God.
And she's Venus ruled.
She's Venus ruled. Yeah.
See, this is what I mean. It's like looking at the blood under the microscope.
Yeah.
When you see the cells starting to inform each other. Like that's the mechanics. It's the spiritual DNA. Isn't that juicy?
Damn. Yeah, no, this is blowing my mind. I hope
this
this
also
is useful for the listeners too.
Well, what it is, if it's a little bit over your head now, it's hope that these are things that are not fully abstract.
Yeah.
That we just follow methodology.
Connect the dots.
And we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Even if you're really confused, you start with one thing and you just keep going and you're like, oh my gosh, there it is.
Yeah.
Which is like brings up the question of free will versus fate. You know, I think it's a combination of both. I think there is a level of fate involved, and you're gonna have this lesson.
Yeah, get you a spirituality that can do both.
you're gonna be dealing with these things at these times.
Yeah.
But the free will is how you're choosing to work with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm look at me, Libra. It's like it's both.
It's both.
Everything is both.
Get you an outlook that is both.
That's right.
I love that this was such a hefty fourth house lesson.
Yeah, that's a big, and just really also when you're looking like my house, I want a new house, or I don't like where I live, and we look at planets transiting, like Jupiter, it comes around every 12 years, and it always gives like, you want to shift. You want to live somewhere else, opportunities usually open, or expand, or buy property,
right?
Or enhance, make better where you are.
So transits through your fourth house would be the indicator.
Around the home.
Okay.
And also, like, if you have like Saturn in your fourth, it's like, oh God, like two things could be happening. So people who have Pisces in current time right now, Pisces on their IC or fourth house, undealt with stuff, undigested food is coming to the surface from childhood to be dealt with, which is not a bad thing. But the other thing, if you feel limited in that area, you can go and you can do things. You can clean your house. You can reorganize things. You can get rid of things that pull you back into the past.
Right.
And there are things you can do to make yourself feel really good. And then Saturn smiles on you and says, okay, see, now I'm going to help you build a new foundation.
You did the chores. Here's your allowance.
Yep, here's your allowance. I will let you go forward.
Please proceed.
Yep. So, yeah, that's
the fourth.
A little,
We really
example of fourth.
We went into that. Okay, a little lighter, house 5.
That's so much lighter.
I know.
I love it. From density into
yeah, fun,
joy.
Pleasure.
It is pleasure. It's creativity. And this is literally where we're supposed to be enjoying ourselves. In the ancient construct, it is the house of good fortune. Because they considered having children good fortune. So this is where we have children. That's the creativity. Yep. So we're birthing new things, not in a painful way, but in a joyful way. And this, I kind of sit on this. This is where I do also differentiate from modern thought that sex, they put in eighth. And one of my horary teacher, it's like, sex is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. It is completely fifth house.
Yeah.
That's when it's a trauma. So it's not sex, it's that if you were traumatized around it. So I'm just throwing that out there
that makes
when
sense.
People are gathering information from all corners.
I love that move, actually.
Yeah.
Also, like not making it like a taboo, hidden kind of thing in the eighth house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's where we procreate. But it's where, people who have sun in the fifth, oh my gosh, like just they are so I don't care if it's trying to think of a non-creative. Okay, I'm not saying Capricorns, you're uncreative, but you're practical. So you even have this like, okay, super practical. In the fifth, they're still going to create like beautifully these probably structures that are really useful.
Right.
But there's always life people who have their sun or strong planets or the ruler of their chart in the fifth. I always say this, like, you really need to do something you love. Like, you have permission to love what you do.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
And it's a good thing, like, give yourself permission to do it. This is also where, because it is the creative arts. You see actors and actresses who have strong fifth house placements.
Yeah.
Because they're able to literally use themselves to create like some other character.
That's rad.
That we believe and we're in, and it's embodied. Like when the sun is there, especially. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Fifth is fun, joyful, things like, and this is why I say too, it's a house of love affairs.
Oh, cute.
My formula, from the beginning, it's like we audition talent in the fifth. And then if we like them, we take them to our seventh. When we talk about
the
seventh,
final rounds.
The final rounds.
Yeah.
We take them to seventh. But fifth, it's like, we're just enjoying this. We're just having fun.
Okay.
And then if there's more there, then we take it.
You'll make it to the next round. You'll go to
You'll
Hollywood.
make it, yeah. Exactly. So this is where... we don't want to be too serious with ourselves.
Like dating.
It is. This is literally dating.
Cool.
So it's funny. We could even say third house, like begins it now that we have online.
Yeah.
And the communications and all the swiping. That's a third house.
Yeah.
Yeah. 357.
Wow. You swipe, you date, you maybe marry. I don't know.
Even 1357.
Oh,
we take ourselves into the swiping. I'm going to enjoy you. Seventh, I'm going to keep you.
Wow. I love that. So would the sign or the planetary ruler of the fifth house indicate who you're drawn toward for dating?
Yes. Would definitely tell you. It can also solve a problem and tell, like, if things are debilitated or strong or let's say, that same Saturn was.
Wait, literally, I have Saturn in the fifth.
Oh, okay.
I have an outer planet stellium and Saturn in Cap in the fifth.
So you might hold yourself back. That would show us where, like, oh, where am I cutting myself off from pleasure?
Yeah.
Or and then mixed with the Virgo, we might be a little, have some very strong refinement standards. Yeah.
That tracks.
Conditions that, and so that would, and also I'll say this, that this is also true, that it can be, I'm waiting for quality. Saturn in Cap is quality. Saturn in Cap, because you're Saturn Cap.
Yeah.
So it's
Saturn, Uranus, Neptune.
Oh God, yeah. So there's
oh God.
Well, no, whenever we have like those bigger planets joined, it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a moment in history even when big planets get together where we see the world change
Yeah.
and shift. So when you're born into that, that colors you. And so we know that's coloring how you track in bringing, like just bringing partnership in an easy way. You're not probably, like you would have to make yourself be a dater.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be natural.
It's not.
So there is, like I will say on another level, it may be that, there's almost a safety switch on there. Like, no, I'm waiting for the quality. And when it comes in, it's gonna feel really joyful and playful. And then it tracks to seriousness, Saturn, Cap.
I like that because a Pisces descendant scares me.
Oh, don't be scared.
Okay.
You can have compassion for Chato, because that's me. But you could probably use it sometime.
I love it so much. Okay, we got in the weeds again because that's how we are. But okay, so fifth house, joy, creativity, pleasure, children, dating, auditioning your future partner.
And not that, this is just classic house energy, gambling.
Oh, funny. I never knew that.
Taking risk, enjoy gambling when we're having fun.
Yeah. Love.
So people, I remember in my, beginning years of practicing astrology and getting the people, like working at Mystical Drawing, you get the people, okay, I'm going, when do I go to Vegas?
Pachanga?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, let's have fun and just play with this.
Yeah.
And so it would be a complete fifth house, exploration of looking at it.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Thrilling.
For fun, when you're doing it for fun.
Yes, and it's not.
Then it goes to eighth.
Yeah.
See how fun can go to eighth where it controls you rather than, you just
You're in
enjoying
control of it. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so before we get there, we're going to stop off in house 6.
In house 6. So sixth house, another one, I feel like I've said this on this podcast, that some people say, oh, house of health, but it's the house of not health. This is when we are correcting, like straight up Hellenistic model. It says bad fortune, illnesses.
Oh God. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that if you have planets there, it's bad.
Right.
It's just you might be in service because it's servitude. So again, when astrology was making its splash in that Babylonian world, or way back when.
Arriving on the Babylonian scene.
Yeah. Slavery was a thing. That's the thing.
Sketch.
It's like long-term earth karma condition that, that's, okay, don't mean to go off tangent, but that's what I'm hoping Pluto going into Aquarius, really settling in, helps really like undo not just our recent last few hundred years, but like thousands of years.
Collective karma around that kind of
some
human behavior.
Gnarly. Yeah. So the way we elevate. So it would be, so this is, I'm trying to explain a bit of the logic, I think, around bad fortune. It's like, oh man, I was born into the slave family.
Yeah.
That's not good fortune.
Yeah.
It would have been bad fortune.
Yeah.
So
to say the least.
To say the least. And so coming into this, we can shift this with like so many doctors and healers have strong sixth house placement.
Right.
So it's I like to look at it as the place we get well house.
Okay.
Because the other thing, because it is that house, remember, it's the house where the illness will show up. So it's also the place where we can clear it.
Cool.
It's showing itself. It's like, I'm showing you me so that you deal with me.
Okay.
And then we have to stop, drop,
it's not
and roll.
hidden. Yeah.
And this is the thing. That's where, the illness shows up in the place. So again, without getting too complicated, aversion from first house. For some reason, those two houses that are flanking what's opposite are also considered an aversion.
Like 6 and 8.
6 and 8.
To 1.
Exactly. Okay. And part of it is they don't have anything in common with each other. There's no commonality.
Right.
There's nothing to link them. And so this is where we get ill. But then it makes us pay attention and we can go and refine. I like to look at it as the house of refinement as well. So if you have strong 6th house, you might be ending up the wellest person on the planet if you go in and dig into topics of the sign and the planets involved, if you have planets in there or whatever the ruling planet.
The ruler, right. Okay.
And so, so that,
And this is also the house for pets, correct?
Yes, this is a pet house.
After all this like refinement around health and like these deep things, it's like also dogs, like
dogs and cats, which they kind of are like the way, because we called ourselves owners, right?
Yeah.
Like people say, I own.
Oh my God, yeah.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
Oh, that just
which is
blew my mind.
weird, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept. That's why I try to catch myself when I say I have cats, you know, that it's like, oh, we share life with our cats.
I'm like, this is my child. I birthed her. No epidural.
No epidural. Had the surrogate kitty, the surrogate dog. But this is, also where they can bring us comfort and healing, right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
So they are our healers.
Yep.
But I'm happy you brought that up. Also, sorry. Gosh, should have said this second. Daily habits.
Yes.
And it's daily habits that tend to get us in trouble
Routines,
with our health.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Whether it's our mind or our physical body. I mean, because it's all connected.
Right.
Anyways, our emotional state of being.
Of course.
Like if we're consuming things that aren't good for us or doing things that aren't good for us, this is where it catches up.
Got it. Okay.
This is where we get our progress report for how we're living our life on a daily basis.
Yep.
So it's also where we can shift it. So that's why, when planets are moving through the 6th house, like, I have a whole model, I have a whole course, which I will offer again coming up.
Yes.
Coming soon.
We'll have info at the end of the episode.
But the sun, when we really use the sun moving through all the houses, even if you're feeling fine, when the sun hits your 6th house, you spend that month just cleaning yourself up.
Yeah.
Setting new routines, new habits, new daily, taking in new daily. And it's the best place because you're going to rewire yourself.
That's why I love January and like
New
Year's resolutions and stuff because my 6th house is Aquarius.
Bam. There you go.
I'm always like ready for
Awareness.
January and I love it. It's also Virgo, but like
it is, but it's a combination of energies.
Yeah.
But your Virgo that can get dispersed easily is fine-tuned and it tracks, right? It tracks you to where you want to be in your life.
The next goal,
The next goal.
So this is not my chart, but I'm curious because we are talking about healing quite a bit. When you see Chiron in someone's 6th house, what does that mean to you?
2 things. Number 1, boy, I could have a whole Chiron episode.
Yeah, probably should.
And Chiron is one of those, it's a dwarf planet that not all astrologers use. It's so hard for me to not use it.
Yeah.
Because it's just there. There's so much intel together.
I can't not look at it.
So my first Chiron statement, and this is really me in working, this is like my personal view, that wherever Chiron is in your chart, you will heal that part of yourself. Like you kind of don't have a choice.
Cool.
You're going to be healed. So we're either like it is front loading to the place. So I can, we can look at Chiron in 6th as blessing.
Wow. Yeah.
And that it's like, from the soul's perspective, it's like, you're not wiggling out of this with your free will this time.
Right.
We're doing
You're locked
this.
in. Yeah.
You're locked in.
This was a contract.
And so what happens is once we're healed, like it's clear.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have all this clarity. And many times, and I think it's just a natural evolution, once we heal something within ourselves, we can take that on. It's almost a responsibility to pass that on to others in some way. Some way. So again, the healer, especially like people with Chiron in Aries, like in the 6th.
I think it's there now, right? Chiron's in Aries.
Chiron is in Aries right now.
Transit-wise.
So people, you have your Chiron return around 50.
Okay.
So those would be those people. But those who were born with Chiron, Aries, 6th, like next level surgeon, like that scalpel is just
sharp as hell.
sharp, least amount of scar tissue.
Wow.
So whether they were literally a surgeon or a brain surgeon, like, well, I guess that's two, like brain surgery, it would be even next level. Oh my gosh. And, but even like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, like everything is surgical and what they go after, the way they're able to go in and clear. Is precisely like clear. We just talked about Aries in the last podcast. Of like, that's clarity. So sharp, right in, get it done, get out.
Now I'm like, if I need a surgeon, it has to be a 50-year-old Scorpio rising.
Somebody. And it's a 5-year expanse, so they could be somewhere in that.
Okay, so like
late
45,
40s to early 50s.
But like Scorpio rising with Chiron and Aries in the 6th house.
I love Scorpio doctors.
Yeah.
Or healers.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I end up with a lot of that.
Psychologists, psychiatrists, like whatever it is. Yeah.
Oh, they can just get in there.
All in there.
They're amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so that was a lot on 6th house as well. I should stop saying that was a lot because all of it is.
Exactly.
No surprises. All right, house 7. So if house 1 is me, house 7 is we.
Or you.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at your own chart, it's like me, you. Because it's in the other.
Yep.
So it's where we start, exactly, building this polarity model. And another thing to look at, 1 through 6 are below the horizon. And so if we, again, going back to the beginning of this episode, the horizon line is showing us everything that is up in light, above the ground, above light. Everything below is underneath in the dark, but it's like in our deep, dark, not negative recesses of self. It's where there is more focus on refinement of self. We're working internal. They really, for the most part, connect with our experience related to other. When we hit 7th, we're going to see this, how we put these together. There's a joining of energy. So we could say we when it's just one other, but it's every individual. And contracts, again, this is why is a house of marriage. It's not just, my romantic person. It's who we're committing.
Binding to.
You're binding. Yeah.
Contractually, legally.
That's why, like, I
spiritually,
always, like,
legally.
if you're getting married, like, please tell me, let me give you a good chart. Because it sets the tone for that partnership. Yeah. And so, that's why that's behind the marriage part.
Okay. Yeah.
And, but it's all others. It is our, when we're dealing with things in the courts, legal proceedings are a 7th house event. So I know that sounds obscure, but it's also the house of divorce. Like, that's a thing.
Interesting.
But we'll see, like I kind of said it before, 12th house is hidden enemies. 7th house is open enemies. And that's, again, if you're being sued, you know who's doing it.
Okay.
They're the people that show themselves to you. And don't get too caught up in this.
Don't get wigged out yet.
Don't get wigged out. But it's just where energy reveals itself to you, because it's literally the sign opposite you. So it's in your clear vision.
Plain sight.
Plain sight. And sometimes people look at their relationship counterpart as an enemy, open enemy, because it shows where you're reflecting each other. They are literally reflecting you back to you.
Wow.
And not everybody's in alignment with themselves.
Damn, that's deep.
And it also shows, like, where we're doing our most refinement on self. I mean, relationships. There's no other way to fast track self-development.
Right. Than having that mirror.
And also having to learn how to work with other.
There's the level of accountability with
Yep.
that other person.
Yep. And so I don't think it's just your marriage, like a significant other. It's
a business partner.
A business partner,
maybe
really strong.
A best friend, like a very, very close
Yeah.
one-to-one relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Because we do have a house for friends.
Yeah.
And they would be there too. But if it's like that level
That's
of
my person.
intimacy,
Yeah.
and you feel like you have that relationship where there's something you're mirroring each other, there's
For
growth there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely it. So
Love
yeah,
it.
so 1 is you, 2 is the other.
So same thing goes for house 8. It's across from house 2. So in house 2, we talked about our resources, our stuff. Now we're looking at other people's stuff.
Other people's stuff. Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where too, I can't believe I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. Derived houses is a thing where, okay, it's really complicated, but it helps explain. This particular one is so shining and glaring, is that we can place like whatever the topic is, whatever the person is, we go to that house and you're looking at your chart, but it's their first house. So your partner, 7th house is their first house.
Okay.
So 8th house is their money.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense.
And we can
It's
keep
flipped.
going.
Yeah. Oh my God.
3rd house, 9th house would be your in-laws,
Yeah.
his siblings,
Oh
or
my
her
gosh, how
siblings, or their
funny.
siblings.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
This is another thing that just, what?
Yeah.
I know it's some advanced thought, but
How big are my eyeballs right now?
but I'm dropping little seeds that,
Yeah.
with deeper study,
This is
goes
how
into.
Shannon has been teaching me for years, and it's really working. So just let it happen. Just let it happen.
Well, because it helps you track like to where it is. It adds more logic to it instead
Yes.
of just blindly trusting.
No, I love it. I mean, I was blindly trusting in the beginning, but then I started seeing all of these patterns, and I'm like, oh my God. And even still, like I've been studying with Shannon for years now. God, it's been almost 5 years.
Oh my gosh,
Which
that's
is nuts.
amazing.
Yeah. And even still, I'm learning stuff literally every single day, every moment.
But it's true, right? 5 years in of strong individualized mentorship.
Yes.
And it's so,
There's so much to learn.
revealing.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. I always try to promise this because like, if you are minded this way, if you're in, this will never go away.
Yeah. The excitement. It's literally like every time I learn something new, it's like unwrapping a present on Christmas.
And I feel like with astrology, like if anybody ever does get to the point of like, okay, well, I already know everything. I don't have it. It's like,
No,
you need
don't.
to leave the room. Just leave. Get out of here.
Yeah. I'm just like, if you
Go
think you know
now.
everything, like, no, you don't. Like,
No, you don't. Like,
Yeah.
you're missing out, too. It's like, don't ruin it for the rest of us.
yes, please. Is it Socrates or Plato who was like, the only thing I know is that I know nothing?
Oh, God, I don't know which one, but
I'll
yeah.
Google it while you talk about house 9. Oh, no, we're still on 8. Sorry.
Okay, we
Jumping ahead.
This is hysterical because
Let's
8
skip it.
is arguably
The worst.
the hardest house. You are Libra moon, I'm Libra sun, and we
Yeah.
just pulled a Libra on you.
We're just like, no, thank you.
It's like, no, I don't like confrontation. Not even just talking about it.
I'm going to just like bypass that really quick and hope no one noticed. For everyone saying, oh, wait, it's a saying derived from Plato's account of the Greek philosopher Socrates. So
Okay, so you were right,
was
times 2.
doubly correct.
That's amazing. Someone has Mercury and Virgo
my God.
on their Virgo ascendant.
But truly, all I know, or I know that I know nothing. That's the saying.
yeah. I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more.
There's more? But wait, there literally is more. See,
Okay, now.
We're still going away from house 8.
Yep, I
Eighth
was
house.
just going to say now, hard landing.
Hard landing into 8th house.
Boom. Okay. So, Hellenistic, and even old traditional, like this is not just Hellenistic. When I say Hellenistic, I'm going way, way back. Like,
Yes.
you know.
Is it like Helen of Troy?
BCE. Well, the Hellenes, that's a region.
Cool.
You'll see Hellenistic philosophy. It's a region.
This is not my area of expertise.
No, it's all good. And that was when it was very, very strong. And traditional astrology, like medieval astrology, all of that is also, this is the house of death. Mm-hmm. This is the house of death and inheritance. That's all that it was. in ancient times, which we can throw a lot in there. Of course, modern astrology is a house of transformation of sex because this is
the Scorpio association.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is how houses got a little obscured because they started laying those
that
zodiac energies on top of it.
Right.
Now, 8th house is probably the most like Scorpio.
Yeah.
So it kind of like there is a tracking there. But that there's the thing with inheritance too. So that seems, but you're getting money that isn't yours. So it's either shared finance,
right,
or it's the bank's money.
A loan, a mortgage.
This is where people will invest in us.
Okay.
This is exactly where we take out loans. But it's not, the thing is not yours until you pay it off.
I like what you said about people investing in us. That's such a positive thing for the 8th house. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good
people
things can come out of it.
Yeah. They believe in you and they're putting money into you.
And this would probably be a little more like literal. They are investing in you. But this is where, like, I think of one of my best super business friends, where she encourages companies not to take investors if you don't have to, because then they own you. Where it's like
stripping your autonomy.
You can do, if you're wired to take resources and turn it into something else, great. But this is the house that will show us if you're not that person and you're taking money to just solve a problem and then you're not trying to shift it into something else, where we go into debt.
Right. And debt can control you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why, too, for me, this is more of a modern view. And I just, like, again, this is something I have adopted, is it's where we are either controlled or we are being controlled.
Yeah.
It's both sides of that. Yep. So strong,
it's like the power
house.
Dynamic.
Exactly. Yeah. Power dynamics. So again, we can see where this can track to, even though it's considered a challenge house, when we show up to the challenge, it can be a strong part of us. And so, just like we were saying that with, like modern astrology's made that the house of sex. Well, if we are in that dynamic where we've been,
a traumatic, like, power dynamic experience in the area of sexuality.
Yeah, that's it. But this is also where we go and heal.
Yeah.
And we take our autonomy back.
I love that. Reclaim your sovereignty.
And, and literally power. So you'll see that because, and this is one of those things, someone with their sun in the 8th, that, like, kind of a naive thing to do is, this is a controlling person. This person's super controlling and they want to be in control and have all the power and da-da-da. It might be literally the opposite, that they are just a doormat.
Wow.
So it's good to never just assume.
Yeah, don't look at it superficially.
But they're on that axis.
Okay, on the 2-8 axis.
Yeah, they're on, or the axis of being controlled. Being
versus
controlling.
Having control. Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, that's 8th. So it's intense, but it's an area. Here's the thing, too, just to throw out. I should have done this at the beginning or the end. Maybe I'll repeat it. But we have an opportunity to experience each house. Like I said, the sun spends about a month in each house. Every year, we get an opportunity to experience that energy and see where it is for us.
Right.
And a lot of times people go, I can't catch a break. You look and it's like, sun's in their 8th.
Yep.
And it's going to leave.
Wow.
It will leave.
Okay.
And then the people who have strong placement there, they're living an 8th house life until they shift it, which they can.
Yeah.
They take control over it.
We love that for them. So before we move on to house 9, you just brought up the sun being in the 8th house. What about a powerful lunation? Let's say it's a new moon and we're all talking about, I want to manifest more money because it's in my 2nd house, or I'm going to manifest a partner because it's in my 7th house. And then you get to 8th house and it's like death. Like, I don't want to manifest death.
I want to manifest complete and absolute expulsion of anything within my behavioral perception that blocks me from moving forward in my life.
Okay.
I don't know.
What about a husband? No, I'm kidding.
So literally that too. What's blocking me from aligning with someone that I'm wanting to be a vibrational alignment with energetically, well, what am I doing that's blocking that?
Okay. So that would be an 8th house theme.
Yep. And you
Okay.
might have a big scary monster briefly go, rah, and you're like, oh, but that's my block.
Okay.
It's trying to take the fear out of it.
All right.
Even though I know it's like waxing, but you're bringing in new energy, like we're
in
releasing.
a precarious house.
But then it shows up, like
Yeah.
it is, it will show up for you.
Cool. All right. Now we're finally moving into a jolly house, I would say.
Yeah,
The
this
ninth
is
house.
Ninth house.
House 9.
House 9.
This is like wisdom, travel.
So the long distance
Yeah.
travel. So working in polarity, what we started with 3rd was
Yeah.
House of Goddess.
Oh.
It's the House of God
Love. Cool.
in the Hellenistic. So again, we have this strong place of power for both. This was the other thing, that the sun and the moon were equal in power. It wasn't just that male solar energy.
Right.
The lunar energy also had, which is another whole other thing, a whole other podcast of sect,
Yeah.
and the luminaries and their power. But right there, we can see that schematic because they also had houses where planets joyed, where they were in their
Yes.
joy. And the moon joys in the 3rd house, the House of Goddess. The sun joys in the 9th house, the House of God.
Yeah.
So you're just looking at, again, like a polarity. It is also a house of divination. It's where it is the house of religion, but we're talking about when we're structuring a way we're organizing a system to have contact with the divine, a place. This was another thing that was one of my, oh my God, moments learning from my teacher, Demetra, who did like just the incredible translations body of work on one on planetary condition and one on the houses. And she said that, so it's everything sacred, this 3rd and 9th, but she said that the 9th house was the place, like the temple, that you would do your sacred rites. Because it was big time. They were doing sacred rites all the time back in the day. And then the actual rites, the mechanics of it, the communication of it was 3rd.
Cool.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I know that's kind of like feels a little esoteric, but it is a neat place of knowing that when we have things in the 9th house, we're setting specific space or energy to do something of whatever we call holy, of like, okay, I want to be a better person. Like you can be an atheist and access this energy. It's like, okay, I'm going to go out in nature.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something. I'm going to go to a specific place. I'm going to set an altar, whatever you do around that. But it is considered obviously they thought it was a pretty amazing house. They gave it the house of God. It also, if we want to look at it this way too, in reference to 1st house being you, that 9th house is a trine. So we haven't talked about, we'll do aspects next.
Okay.
Because those, remember I started, houses are the context, the backdrop.
Right.
Where those planets and the beings and the costumes, and aspects are the dialogue that they're having.
Right.
So that's
What's the conversation?
That's the conversation. And so mathematically, from where you are, that 9th house, and the 5th, that other good fortune,
Right.
they're in really good places to give you something without a lot of effort. It
Cool.
just flows to you.
Love.
And it is also long distance travel. So the way I look at long distance, I had learned early on, it's like you have to cross an ocean. Like when you cross an ocean, but I think it's more than that. It's when we are experiencing another culture. So it brings in more of that wisdom energy.
Right.
Learning from other cultures, learning
Other groups.
other other ways of thinking, other ways of relating to each other, other philosophies. This is the house of philosophies, philosophers.
Yep.
teachers, those high-level teachers are ninth house. In fact, people who have, this is another, I didn't say this before, third house, but this is good. We're putting it together.
Yeah.
Ninth house is higher education. Third house is lower education.
Elementary.
It's elementary.
Yeah.
Again, the little things. We're getting all the building blocks so that we can actually do the bigger work.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Love.
So people who have strong ninth house placements may feel like, I'm not going to be worthy unless I, go to college or they literally are teachers. They can be the teacher.
Okay.
But usually higher education is very valued.
With a lot of ninth house or strong ninth house placements.
With really strong ninth house.
Like let's say there was an exalted Aries sun in the ninth house.
Oh. Well, that might be elite training too for
sport.
For some sport.
Yeah.
Or they get into a college with a full ride.
Academic or physical,
because
like what's it called?
Athletic. Yeah,
an athletic.
Athletic like they get into Harvard.
Yeah.
And they don't have the best grades, but they get into Harvard because they're an exceptional football player or whatever. Yeah. Ninth, it is that like super conscious mind. It's conceptual thinking rather than linear thinking. That Philosophy.
Yeah.
So that's where, again, we see the ninth house and the third house linked.
Okay. Cool.
So
the axis is clear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You get the point.
Okay.
Like, I just need to get this thing done on my to-do list. Third house.
Versus what's the meaning of life?
What's the meaning of life? Or,
right.
Exactly.
Doing what's my purpose in all this? Why am I doing those little today to-do tasks?
Exactly. Why am I doing all those little to-do tasks to get me to that ninth place? It's the same thing of that ancient model of the rites, sacred rites, the little things, tracking to the bigger
Forest
concept.
Trees.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Okay, so that moves us right into house number 10.
Number 10.
10th house.
So we talked about this at the very beginning. 10th is career. It's the top of the sky. And again, when we're using quadrant houses, it is what tracks mid-heaven, meaning literal middle of the sky. So it is where we are most visible, where we're seen, and where we can interface with the public. It's
your public life.
It's your public life.
Yep.
And so that, again, is why usually it's your profession, what you want to take on. It's also your, it's that house of reputation, how you're seen, because it's where you're the most visible.
Oh, so maybe people kind of assume that you are your midheaven sign?
Can be. That, in fact, I think I said this in the class when we started, that first house is also a thing that, like, what you want people to see, but the 10th house is what they actually see.
Yeah.
Because it's the part exposed that we're out in the world. And,
that's so funny.
And so that, and that was the thing, like my teacher said, when they were giving this lecture, they're like very sarcastic humor, would go through every sign except Leo for Leo midheaven. And just to see if they catch it. What about me?
I think you may have done that on accident. I think we were going through something and you skipped Leo and we were like, wait.
We did. Yeah. That is so funny. I see how things go in and you're programmed and you don't even know it. I didn't even try.
I know.
It just did it.
It's so funny.
But that is funny. Yeah, because they're the ones most funny. And even though it's that's the Scorpio ascendant usually.
Yeah. Who doesn't necessarily want to be Leo public.
Right. Yeah. But then they do. Like I don't mean they want to be seen.
Right.
But it is this wait a minute. I still have value even though I want value from behind the curtain, not in front of it.
100%.
But they're going to have to go out. So midheaven basically, and 10th house shows us our career, the position, what public position you're taking. In ancient astrology, it's the place of the king.
Yeah.
Or queen, whoever has rulership. It's like that strong. That's why some people will use 10th as also the father if you're looking for intel on parents.
Interesting. Okay.
And usually in the construct of yesteryear, the dad would be out earning.
Right,
So
like-
he wasn't in your daily life like your mother under the horizon. So fourth would be mom. But again, those are soft,
Yeah.
associations. It can work the other direction too. But it is usually the one who's like out doing the work. It also, like Scorpio midheaven, of course, not everybody was Scorpio midheaven, but it could be that infamous energy, like some hidden scandal that's
Notoriety.
brought to, that comes out that we see
Okay.
that. So
Saucy.
So actually, it's funny. Yeah, that's his like 10th.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like it's one of the easiest to explain.
It kind of is. Yeah.
All right. Then
Our authority figures, our boss, like if we have a boss.
Yeah.
And then, here we go. Polarity. Fourth house, home, most inner self.
Yep.
10th house, career, our
Yep.
outer world self.
You're in a business suit, you're in pajamas.
Yep. Perfect. Oh my God, perfect.
Fantastic.
I love that.
Beautiful. Okay, so house 11, the 11th house of our tribes, communities, the collective, friend groups.
Friends, social groups.
Friends.
And this was considered the house of good spirit in
Sweet.
the Hellenistic model. So it is that, our friends. And that's a thing. Friends are usually a good thing.
Friends are a blessing.
And where we get support. It is interesting in mundane old school astrology, the 10th, would be the ruler, that authority, and the 11th would be the cabinet.
Oh, wow.
So the
supporting structure.
The supporting structure.
Yeah.
The board of directors.
Yeah. I
The
love
people
that.
they're trusted people.
That's beautiful.
So 11th house, I always joke, like I have my own like board of directors of my friends.
I stole that from you. Yeah.
So that would be the 11th.
Yeah.
And so if, you're having difficult, you can see, okay, I've got Venus and Scorpio in my 11th house. Like, gosh, it's been this pattern of like dealing with, jealousy issues.
Yeah, intensity.
And like I went in and I was all, come on, can we all be friends? And then, boom. No, we can't.
No, sorry.
But we would be refining how we work with that energy. The flip side could have, Venus and Libra or some other lovely, friendly thing. Mercury and Gemini, in a placement, Aquarius, where it's like, oh gosh, I have so many meaningful connections.
Yeah. I've got Jupiter in the 11th and I'm just
That's
like.
amazing.
Yeah.
You have great friends.
Oh my God, I'm literally so rich in friends.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the best friends. I love you all.
Very well. You have a lot of wealth too when you probably go out like, okay, I need help. I need information. I need whatever. You have your board
Resources.
of directors.
Yeah.
You have resources that are your friends.
Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Isn't that cool?
I love it.
So friends, alliances, who we're it shows who you're aligned with. Who do I most align with? Is that 11th house energy. That's why too, we'll classically see groups, organizations, because you're joining in with those that are like-minded. Political parties would fall under an 11th house territory. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, we can connect and we don't have to talk about everything. We know, we see, we just automatically understand
Inherently
each other.
eye to eye. Yep.
So we can go to somewhere else with it because we already understand each other.
Cool.
Like that's 11th. It's also, this is what I love using the 11th house for, especially by transit when the sun's moving through the 11th, it's those seeds. This is where we begin to vision something for ourselves, would be 11th. In fact, 11th house placed people are very visionary and humanitarian focused. So it is, thinking of how do we all work better together than separate.
As a collective.
Yeah. And so, 11th house people, I always say, oh, you don't belong to yourself. You belong to the world. And again, we're above the horizon. So there's there's another, above below.
Right.
I found what I like, 5th house. I love this. Now I'm going to give this love.
Right.
and share it,
Yep.
and give it to everybody. So yeah, it's like collective energy where we are collectively experiencing, but it's the seeds, like I said, the seeds of what do I want to do next?
Right.
And we get that opportunity every year. We have a yearly reset of your ideas, because 10th house would be like harvest, like as far as timing with the sun moving through the 12 houses. Sun is culmination. We got it. We picked the fruit. Now we're planting again. How am I going to plant my seeds? Which seeds am I going to plant that I will be harvesting in 11 months?
When we come back around. Yep.
So it's good to be aware of what your thoughts are. More than any other time of the year is when the sun is transiting your 11th house.
Okay.
Because it's like, as far as your higher self's concerned, doesn't know right from wrong, good from bad. It's all the same. It's experience. It's experience, growth, and evolution. It's like, yeah, that looks good. Okay, yeah, we're going to be tracking ahead. But you might be looping the same thing over and over. So if we have those default thoughts, this is a good place to shift that and at least just say, cancel.
Yep. Interrupt the pattern. Insert new thought here.
But whether you believe it or not, just something different.
Yep.
So yeah, that's 11th.
Okay, now we've made it around the wheel.
And this is good. I like using the seed model.
Yeah.
This is a model that I've used for years to help better understand. So when we plant the seed in the 11th, and then we go into the 12th. By the way, this growth cycle has nothing to do with ancient astrology.
Okay. This is Shannon astrology.
I'm just making that point, that distinction. But it helps us understand, because if we plant a seed, then it's in the dirt, right? Yep. We can't see it.
Yep.
It's dark.
It's doing its thing underground.
It's underground. And
the
it's
unseen.
Like, I don't know where I am. It's dark in here. Am I up? Am I down? Help me.
Yeah.
And the only thing we can do, you can't make a seed germinate faster.
Right.
Like, it's going to
Trust me, I've tried.
Exactly. Most people do.
Yeah.
And this is, again, one of those places where nature teaches us about ourselves and life.
Mm-hmm. Teaches us patience.
Teaches us patience. And 12th house is that patience. And so which takes me to, it's the house of our own self-undoing. That's what it's called. And they called it bad spirit.
Yeah.
And it is the opposite house of bad fortune.
Right.
So
we don't love that axis.
It's not the easiest. And that's why we can have suffering and we can have those things. However, I'll say this too, sorry. It is my belief, as someone who's had many illnesses and things and worked within those realms, that before an illness hits your body, it was a thought form first.
Yes.
It was in your psyche first. It was in the subconscious mind, maybe. That's a 12th house. So this is where we see that's one link of it was ungraspable, a phantom, and then it planted and became a physical manifestation of something, 6th house.
Yep.
But it was in the 12th first.
Okay.
So it is that subconscious promptings, how we create negativity in our own life. And so, okay, there's that. Where we don't see ourselves, because it's, again, that house on the other side of not seen. And that is another way I teach it. It's the tag in your shirt up. You're turning your head, you can't see it. You need an exterior source to either tell you, oh, the tag is up, or like a mirror, but something outside of yourself, because you're not going to see it on your own. We all have blind spots. This is real. It's more blind spotty than second house. I don't think of it so much that it's the 12th.
Right.
And so it is also where we may have needed to recede. So this is why the house of meditation, 100% remedy 12th. Just sit, either meditate, pray, whatever is your thing that helps you feel better.
Yeah.
Contacting something that is, to me, I look at 12th house as also that intermediary between like the divine.
Space.
Exactly. It is so liminal space between the divine and here. And so within that is complete hands-off non-action. And so going back to the seed, if we keep pulling it out of the dirt, where are you at? We put it back in. We keep taking it out. It's not, you're going to screw it up.
Yeah.
And so it's also the same when we're dealing with 12th house issues, where it's like it's that let go, let universe, let whatever word works for you. But you're taking your hands off. And that's where we can undo ourselves or sabotage ourselves, is when we're stepping in the place of where we said, no, I'm going to let the divine take this.
Cool.
And people with 12th house placements will understand that. People with strong first house be like, what are you talking about? And this is why there's a place for everybody here. And so it can actually be a good house of miracles. Like when you learn to do that. And then all of a sudden, first house shows up and boom, we have a seed.
Sprout.
Yep. We have a sprout coming through. We have a seed poking, the green coming through the dirt, breaking the dirt.
It's manifesting.
And it goes, here I am. There's the sun.
Yeah.
I am here. First house. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm in my body. I'm safe. So there's the circle. That was quite a trek.
We really went on a journey.
Simple did not happen.
You know, we should have expected that.
I know, always.
We made a trek around the 12 houses. I will do a brief recap at the end of this. Shannon, as always, you're our hero. Thank you for guiding us, being our leader through the cosmos and life, the spiritual world, the liminal space, the earth world, all of the above.
I am like Waze.
Spirit ways.
Spirit ways.
I love it.
I might get you stuck in a traffic jam by accident, but...
In space.
But
space ways, spirit ways.
But we'll have some conversations while we're there.
We're going to have a great car conversation. This is like our version of carpool karaoke.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
This is literally ours.
This is perfect.
Shannon, we love you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just going to do a little cliff notes at the end here to catch you up. I know that was a long episode, so I'm just going to run through the houses quickly for your little TLDR. House 1, me, the self, the body. House 2, stuff, resources. House 3, communication, short distance travel, and automobiles. Siblings, feels random but isn't. House 4, home, family, your childhood. House 5, your children and projects, pleasure, creativity. House 6, health and unhealth, routine, like your day-to-day work and pets. House 7 is your one-to-one partnerships, contractual or marriage. House 8 is other people's stuff and also maybe death. House 9 is wisdom, fortune, culture, travel, philosophy, like long-distance travel. House 10 is career and public life. House 11 is community and groups of friends, your tribe, historically. House 12 is the spiritual liminal space and the self-undoing. It's like the endings and, I don't know, very, very spirit. Okay, I hope that was helpful. For our This Is Mine segment today, it probably comes as no surprise to you that my pick of the week is Shannon's astrology school, Moon Gathering. Her Astro Foundations 2 course begins Saturday, May 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific in person, and Monday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. Pacific online for the Zoom version. Because Shannon loves you so much, our This Is Fine community is receiving $111 off the price of the course. So it's $333 instead of $444. A huge thank you to Shannon for such a massive, generous discount and helping us save some money while we learn. Use the code THISISFINE, all caps, one word, when you check out at moongathering.com. We're so glad you joined us for another Astro 101 lesson. Your bonus material and lesson guide is available on Patreon if you're a Patreon member. It's patreon.com/thisisfinepodcast. I love you all so much, and I'm so grateful you've joined us on this educational journey through the cosmos. I'll see you in Astro School at Moon Gathering with Shannon, and here, of course, next week. A bientôt. Bye! Thanks for tuning in to this episode of This Is Fine. I've been your host, Dominique Michelle Astorino. We're based in San Diego, recording in studio at DLI Productions in Pacific Beach with Emmy Award-winning sound designer Dan De La Isla. This is a comedy and advice podcast, but for legal reasons, this entire podcast is a joke and none of it is medical advice. To download the transcript or learn more, visit thisisfinepodcast.com.